जीरा सिप जलजीरा मसाला।
सिप सिप जीरा सिप एमडीएच का जलजीरा जीरा सिप एमडीएच का जलजीरा जीरा सिप।
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate. Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, the problem with the Tata-owned Air India, especially after Tata's took over Air India, is the chalta hai attitude that is going on in Air India. And we've been talking about this for the longest time. But there is an approach from Air India which is absolutely drenching in corporate arrogance. They think they are beyond question. And I told them today that if they want to answer questions of Republic, we have sent them a questionnaire. They should answer directly on record. There is no point in any of these people from Air India trying to contact Republic informally and trying to make requests informally. We will not listen. Now, we are told that the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security has suddenly woken up and asked for all information from Air India. We have emails. This story will be broken by Harsha in a few minutes. Asking for all details from Air India and giving them time till end of day to respond. Why? Was the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security sleeping till now? How come their approach has changed? Because now there is public and political pressure. Why was there no political pressure till now? Every rational expert I've spoken to is convinced that the Tata-owned Air India got an extremely long rope from the Director General of Civil Aviation on very serious issues. Yesterday, I came public with investigation reports in which it was found that Air India was complicit in the gravest of crimes. And yet they were given time. The most recent show cause notice to Air India is right here before me. It is dated the 5th of June, 2025. And they are given 15 days to respond. These are serious problems. You don't give a airline that carries lakhs of people a day 15 days to respond on these issues. The other matter I want to now seriously raise is the question of monopolies and duopolies. I am against monopolies and duopolies. The government of India must actually bring this into effect. It is a bad thing if there are monopolies or duopolies in this country. The government would never allow two news networks to operate or two news channels to operate or disseminate all information in India. And they would say that then the power in those news networks is too much. We must put a leash on monopolies and duopolies. If they don't allow this in media, if they don't allow this in other sensitive sectors, why are they allowing this in the aviation industry? Is a question I have. I don't know the legalities. I don't know. We have a monopolies commission. We have commissions which look at, making sure that competitive frameworks, market frameworks operate. But how is it that in the aviation industry, between Tata-owned Air India Group after the merger with Vistara and Air India and Indigo, between these two, they have near market monopoly. They have over 90% of the market. Indigo has over 60% of the market. Air India has more than 25% of the market. And if two airline companies have over 90% of the market, is it good for people of this country? Is this the reason why during the Shahi Snan days of the Mahakumbh, the Delhi Prayagraj airfare rose fourfold to over 40,000-50,000? DGCA was forced to step in and tell the airlines, rationalize your airfares. I'm only talking about the way in which these airlines fleece from you and me, from the common man. In fact, even after the Pahalgam attack, if you check the prices for Srinagar, in and out of Srinagar, particularly to Delhi and other metros, had spiked up dramatically and irrationally. Which means even after a terrorist attack, when there is panic, when there is more demand, they just hike the rates. There is no sensitivity of these airlines at that point of time that we should not do things like this. We should not be exploitative. And where is the government when all of these things happen? You see, the government cannot look away and say these are decisions of private companies. These are decisions of private companies in an aviation industry which is working on an effective duopoly model is my concern. And my concern is the concern of everyone. Now, why am I talking about this after all that has happened? Because it is relevant. Because these airlines will not care enough about safety, will not care about standards, will not care about not having agreements with Turkish companies, will not care enough about maintenance, technical faults, if they are in a monopoly or duopoly situation. You can't say, and Tata Group is constantly emphasizing. It was appalling to hear this CEO, their foreign CEO, Campbell, say, we have offered 1 crore rupees. We have offered 1 crore rupees. We have given 1 crore rupees. Yesterday he was there running away from our reporter. We have given 1 crore rupees. So what the hell do you mean, Mr. Campbell Wilson? You've given 1 crore rupees. And does that take your name off the offenders list in the investigation report which I have, which you're getting away with? This corporate arrogance must be stopped by the Tatas. Chandra from the Tatas says, the big boss of the Tatas, he says in a statement to his colleagues, we'll get over this, we'll do this, we'll do that, Tata Group is this, Tata Group is that. But first, Mr. Chandra, I request you sack this arrogant man who goes on saying we've given 1 crore rupees. What does he mean by saying that we've got 1 crore rupees? Rudra was a 20-year-old boy who lost his life while traveling for studies. You are saying you've given 1 crore rupees. Nangthal, a young northeastern cabin crew member's mother was in shock, looked inconsolable. We have visuals. And you say, we've given 1 crore rupees. Why are you emphasizing if you've given 1 crore rupees? Why is it part of a press statement? Why is this irresponsible CEO of yours who should have been sacked by now? You're not sacking him, Mr. Chandra. You're not sacking him. That's absolutely unforgivable. You're giving him a long rope. You may think that sacking him will be seen to be an admission of complicity. Even if it is, sack him. 241 people died in the plane and countless others on the ground. Sack him, Mr. Chandra, sack him. Pratik Joshi and Koni Vyas, along with their children and their eldest daughter, were on the flight. They were going to start a new life in London. You say we've given 1 crore rupees. Arjun Patolia had come to India to perform the last rites of his wife. This was his wife's last wish. Imagine the heavy heart that man was carrying with him in his last hours as he flew out of India. And you say you've given 1 crore rupees. You keep emphasizing in your press statements, in your videos, we've given 1 crore rupees. Khushbu got married in January this year. Her husband is a student in London. She was so excited. She was going back to meet him. You say we've given 1 crore rupees. And is it true or not? Is it true or not that you said that you have had a record-breaking revenue of 61,000 crores? Then tell me, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Chandra, you have 61,000 crores revenue and you boast about it. But you can't have air conditioning on the plane. You couldn't do enough. And all you want to do right now is deflect responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, I am against the market monopoly of a few airlines. You should too. You should raise your voice against it. We must stop the monopolies in this country. You see, big companies must be put in their place in this country. This country belongs to you. This country doesn't belong to any company or a group of companies or duopolies or triopolies or monopolies. This is my view here on Republic. I know that the other networks won't say it because they are not independent maybe. But this is an independent network. We're saying it. We're the only network with the guts to say it. End the monopoly, end the duopoly, end the triopoly, end the arrogance, end the corporate arrogance, end the exploitation. This country belongs to the people of this country, not to the capitalists who own airlines. Let's debate.
AI-171 took off from runway 23 and in less than 60 seconds, a passenger plane with 242 people on board turned into a fireball. The video shows the aircraft was airborne and then a sudden loss of power. Captain Sumit Sabrawal of the flight had 8,200 hours of experience, while the co-pilot, Live Kundar, had 1100 hours of experience, leaving very little room for human error. Then what led to the crash? One question, but no definite answer. One theory, that is the plane's flaps essentially for generating lift, were fully retracted. The flaps of Boeing 787 are supposed to be set at 5 or higher during takeoff and are only fully retracted after aircraft achieves a stable altitude.
Improper takeoff configuration. The aircraft may not have been configured correctly for the takeoff. Emerging videos suggest the flaps were not deployed. Flaps are very critical. They help generate extra lift, especially during takeoff and landing. So with the flaps in the retracted position, the aircraft would have had almost no help fighting gravity. That's very much visible in the footage. The plane went till the very end of the runway, yet never truly lifted off to its capacity.
Meanwhile, the landing gear, which is normally retracted within seconds of aircraft gaining altitude, remained extended. Pilots repeated no thrust Mayday call to ATC hints at the possibility of either engine failure or engines receiving inadequate power. It is an extremely rare event, but possible in case of a bird hit.
Primarily dependent upon the lift at this time, which is being provided or augmented by the thrust at such low altitude. So 100% it is everybody's first doubt that it must be a dual engine failure. Now that can happen by virtue of birds being close in the vicinity. There can be a likelihood. We've had these problems before.
Another possible reason could be contaminated fuel, which has the potential to choke the engines. Aircraft engines, if blocked, result in immediate engine shutdown. If that was the case, the aircraft wouldn't have time to recover. Another theory is that inaccurate data about the takeoff weight was fed into the aircraft system, which led the plane to miscalculate the required thrust.
When such things go wrong, there is a multiple failure in a lot of factors which coincide together for such a big error. And yes, the first thing everybody's thinking of is dual engine failure, because at such low altitude, you have nothing much to do. There are so many things which will go wrong. It's not just one person to blame. I believe that.
Questions are now being raised on the Boeing 787 fleet. A whistleblower had raised concerns in 2024, hinting at the possibility of quality control.
Right now, I would not, it's like an earthquake. The big earthquake is coming, but when that hits the building that, let's say if you're talking of a building, have to be prepared to accommodate that type of a, let's say, shakeup. It has to be built properly. Right now, from what I've seen, the airplanes are not being built per spec and per requirement.
So your testimony is the 787 line and the 777, the 777 line are you think are not?
Well,
not safe.
they are doing stuff that increases the risk factors.
DGCA has also taken a note and ordered inspection of Air India's Boeing 787 aircraft.
The aviation regulatory body DGCA today ordered thorough inspections in all Boeing aircrafts of Air India, Boeing 787, 788 and 789 by stating that with immediate effect the inspection should begin in all the Boeing aircrafts of Air India after yesterday's Ahmedabad-London devastating incident.
Black box will help connect the dots. The cockpit voice recorder will reveal the last conversation as well as what inputs were given by the pilots. Was there an issue with the engine? Was there a bird hit? Was there a problem with the landing gears of the plane? Or was there any structural problem with the plane?
everybody is asking for tonight is the question on our lips: what could have gone wrong leading to the crash? I would like to first start by saying that, of course, this is not a preemptive attempt at trying to find out what happened or preempting the technical findings, but we must be working on some assumptions of what could have happened. And we have a great panel. We have Captain Surjit Panesar, former Director of Flight Safety and Training in Indian Airlines. Captain Ehsan Khalid is a veteran Indian Air Force pilot. He is former commander of the Boeing 737 NG fleet. Dr. Vipul Saxena is a former defense pilot and aeronautical engineer. J. Venkateshwar Rao has worked with Air India for 26 years. He's very activist, very questioning about what's going on in the group Air India. I have Shawan, our senior editor, and our senior correspondent, Harsha, with us, who will share breaking news in the course of this program. But first, I want to go across to Dr. Jeff Dell, who is co-chair of the Flight Safety Foundation of the Australian Advisory Board, 2001 to 2014. He's been member of the Board of Directors of the Aviation Safety Federation of Australia, 2003 to 2009. He's foundation member of the Aviation Safety Research Group at Monash earlier before that, and is he has enough knowledge about the sector. Professor Dr. Jeff Dell, what are your preliminary observations about this Air India crash which happened yesterday? You know how to study the clues. What do you see?
Yeah, well, everything that was just in that editorial, I think, are definite possibilities. As you've indicated, it's fairly early on in the investigation, and any a combination of those factors may have led to the event, it's probably too early to speculate to any real degree.
Louder.
The initial response, seems to always be to focus on pilot error. Certainly in the Australian media, that was happening fairly quickly after the news broke of the crash. Those kind of assumptions, and particularly a finding of pilot error, or a suggestion of pilot error, is really unhelpful. It's really the start of an investigation. If it does turn out to be true, it's unhelpful. It's like saying that the crash was caused by gravity. It might be true, but it doesn't give us any information that's useful in prevention. So, the focus needs to be systematically analysing the circumstances, and there'll be hundreds of potential causal factors, and you'll really only get a clear path forward once the flight recorders are read, as the editorial suggested, because then you're able to discount some of the things that people and others, other experts might be contemplating. It's a crash like this is a complicated puzzle, and the political and social components that you've already mentioned in the editorial are, sit over the top of every other component of the aviation system. There's thousands and thousands of things that have to be done before every flight in order for it to be successfully executed. Sifting through all of that information takes time. And right at the moment, we don't really have any detailed evidence to answer any of those questions. So I certainly wouldn't like to speculate on which of those things are true at this point in time. but I would certainly be exploring all of them. If I was leading the investigation.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, to say pilot error is very easy. It also takes the responsibility of Boeing. It takes the responsibility of Air India. It takes the responsibility of the parent group running Air India. Everybody can go scot-free, blame it on the dead pilot, and move on. It's very convenient, isn't it? Captain Surjit Panisar, some other people are saying dual engine failure. Is that possible? How are some people coming to the conclusion of dual engine failure so quickly?
Well, it's not good to preempt all these things. Let me tell you, 787 is the most modern aircraft. There are more than 200 parameters are recorded on this aircraft. Now we have to establish the takeoff. You see, before the takeoff, engineer goes and checks the aircraft, its past record of flying, any snags. Then the commercial people, they go, they do the loading and all that. They give the trim sheet to the pilot. Pilot calculates the speeds as per the weight of the aircraft. Then he takes off. No, it is not good to imagine thinking this could have happened, pilot error could have happened. No, DFDR and CVR will reveal the fact. Doodh ka doodh aur pani ka pani ho jayega. But only thing is we must have an honest investigation. Do we have experts in DGCA to investigate incident like a high-tech aircraft? Past inquiries have indicated in writing that the DGCA is most incompetent or they don't have experts and investigation should be separated from them. No, they said DGCA, the jury, they are the judges. They investigate, they give judgment, they release the pilot. We want there should be an independent investigation by involving of seniors, veterans and all that to get opinions so that such incidents do not occur in future. No, it is pointless to start blaming and all that, but we must come out with a proper investigation which they will not all the veterans and experts to give their opinion. It's a high time now we should call the Boeing people, NTSB people to also help us in this investigation.
No, but now there's a lot of quick analysis being done, and the problem also in sections of the media is we do very quick analysis. There are some channels which have already done. There are some reporters who have done a few years of aviation reporting. They think they know more than everyone else, and they're all sitting and analyzing like experts and doing podcasts on was it flying like this, was it turning to the left, what is flapping like this. Now I have no qualms in saying I know nothing about all this. We know nothing. We have some information here. But some people are saying, I'm only repeating it.
Experienced people, inexperienced, they are giving their own judgment, which is not correct.
Yeah, there are two journalists sitting to each other. They are doing all this analysis. Oh, we've got this.
Pilots are trained very well.
No, my question is, I'm not blaming the pilots. Some people are looking at the eyewitness video. And Captain Ehsan Khalid, they are saying that if you look at the video, they reveal that the aircraft is climbing with its landing gear still deployed and flaps fully retracted, which is a very abnormal situation. Can you explain what they mean by that? Normally, apparently, flaps are extended during takeoff to get lift. I'm only reading what is written. And landing gear is retracted once the plane gets a positive climb. But in this case, that did not happen. What does that mean?
Sir, there are takeoff flaps. There are takeoff flaps. As per the weight of the aircraft, the pilot calculates the speeds and all that, and he used the takeoff flaps.
So whatever situation was created out here happened.
Come in the flight data recorder. How much?
No. Could it be that something happened right when the plane?
Check the flaps before 1,500 feet.
No. Could it be that something has happened? And this question is to Captain Khalid. Immediately after the plane took off, so there was some situation of panic in the cockpit, and that is why this landing gear was not retracted. And the flaps were extended. What does this indicate? That apparently some basic takeoff protocol or post-takeoff protocol was not followed. What does that possibly indicate?
Too premature to say that, but the fact remains that landing gear should not have been down. And from the video, we don't make out whether flaps are up or not. That is not conclusive.
Only the landing gear?
Yeah, the landing gear is down and it should not have been down. That is fairly seen, but the circumstances in which the landing gear is not taken up, if there was loss of electric and hydraulic power, Even if the pilot wanted to take the flaps landing gear up, it will not go up. In a bizarre case where there is a dual engine failure, you will have engine power loss, electric loss, hydraulic loss, and the aircraft will not be able to take the landing gear up. Bizarre condition where we are having an electrical and hydraulic malfunction, then even the flaps could auto-retract. I don't know the entire mechanism because it could never be told to a pilot what would happen in a dual engine scenario. But from the visual that I see, there was no explosion, there was no adverse weather, there was no over-rotation of the aircraft till about say 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet, 70 feet was climbing. Well, it was a sluggish climb. It could have been because it is a hot weather, heavy aircraft, fine, and it is how it is supposed to climb. But thereafter, even if we are talking about that fuel contamination was there, I don't think fuel contamination can cause two engines fail at the same time within a span of fraction of a second. Because if there is a failure of engine because of fuel contamination, the one engine will fail, the other will fail maybe after 30 minutes, maybe after 45 minutes, maybe after 4 hours. Okay, so fuel contamination is out. Bird hit, very unlikely chance that such a big flock of birds that it will.
And it's also not visible. It's also not visible.
44 feet away from each other. So I don't think that such a big flock of bird was there. Compare it with Airbus 320 of Captain Sully's Hudson landing. Both the engines are just 24 feet apart. So reasonably a smaller flock of the birds can strike both the engines simultaneously. But this one needed to be pretty.
But there is no sign of a fire or a bird impact. There is no sign.
Bird impact, a fire we don't see. Bird impact, if it was there, it would be on a single engine happening on the both engines. These are fairly big engines. They will take most of the birds inside and still fly for next maybe 30 minutes, maybe for 45 minutes, but they would survive the bird hit. Here, in a very bizarre chance that the aircraft has had a bird hit, and then there was attention diversion and departure from the sequence of events that a pilot do in the cockpit. Out of the book scenario, there are warnings which are there which they have not seen before, and then at that point of time they have to devise they have to take an action which is what they could have done the best at that point of time. At a later time, we may find that those actions may not be correct, but they are not something that we can say right now. But if you look at the aircraft right now, it is in a perfect attitude and it is going down. It is actively being flown by the pilot and not something that is that the pilot is trying to control the aircraft in its flight path. It is going down because of lack of thrust, lack of lift, and it is just going down.
And why for my next question, and we are going to open up to calls now, is to Dr. Vipul Saxena, and then I have some breaking news that I'm going to open up to calls. So, Dr. Saxena, the issue comes that this plane, and if we can run some more visuals on this, the number can be shown a bit later. Can we just have more on visuals on the landing system, please? Please just remove the whole runway of visuals which you have and focus on those which are helping us tell the story. There is a digital news feed which actually has circles and points out the position of the aircraft. You can probably use that. Now the issue happens that this plane has crashed because there is no lift. The plane was not taking lift, and the pilot during the Mayday call also says no thrust, which means that there is a lack of thrust. Can this be a technical failure? Is there something called I'm asking the question to Dr. Vipul Saxena, producers. Is there something called a thrust lever malfunction? What is this thing called a FADEC failure, FADEC failure, full authority digital engine control, which automates thrust based on flight parameters? Is there some technical failure here? Did some thrust lever not work? Is that why the engine was not responding to the pilot's commands or pilot's inputs? This is all information I'm being given, and I'd like your views on this, please. Thank you.
So, Arnab, first let me put a caveat on this, that we are not trying to be investigators.
No.
We are only trying to, decode what we are seeing in the video. And we try to ascertain if there are some pointers we can get it for the benefit of the viewers. And we are not making any judgments. So as far as the flight throttle control part which has been told, I think it's too complicated system. It's a computer-driven system, and failure of it's very, very remote. Now, I would like to start my narrative of decoding this video, starting from the rolling of the aircraft. If you look at the rolling is very, very clean, and if there was a problem of flap or improper flap for the weight and speed, this aircraft would not have taken off. So, a clean takeoff means that the engine was producing proper power which was required. There were proper flap available to give enough lift to the aircraft to take off. And that is why this takeoff was clean. But what I observed in this takeoff is that pilot has offsetted its nose to counter to the crosswind components, and also because there was a high temperature in Ahmedabad, which also must have caused some kind of wind shear in the engine, which must have caused some amount of loss of thrust, which is not very abnormal. If other things are normal, it's a very, very common thing and it is manageable. But what subsequently I am seeing is that after even maybe about 100 feet and above, the undercarriages are further down. So on one end, we have a loss of thrust. Then we have undercarriage down, which requires additional lift, additional thrust, which further actually aggravates the situation. Next point is that aircraft is in takeoff mode, and it stops, literally stops climbing and starts sinking. Now in that situation, pilot would have definitely tried to level it out or put the nose down, which it was not done. I assume there must be some kind of control malfunction. Those things I can decode from the video which is seen. Other thing I think are speculation unless there is some data to corroborate what you asked me in the question about the fuel control lever and all that. Unless we have some data to corroborate that.
So the wind factor was 7 knots.
Sorry?
The wind factor from available open source information flight radar was 7 knots.
7 knots.
That's not a lot?
No, that's not a lot.
It's a very calm condition. It is the weather contributory is 100% ruled out.
So temperature is 37 degrees. Temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. Wind speed is 7 knots.
Okay.
Right, and the pressure is 1001. Okay. Visibility is 6 kilometers.
I don't call it a strong wind. So
no.
I rule out the issue of wind shear. But there was an indication of loss of thrust, which initiated a sink and which was aggravated because the landing gear is still down, and aircraft still in the nose up attitude, which further aggravated the sink rate, and finally aircraft came down uncontrolled situation.
We've also been investigating here at Republic how the authorities are looking at things. And Shravan and Harsha first will tell us about some email communication they have access to, which is going on between Air India and the authorities recently after the crash. Harsha?
So there has been a communication which we have got to know through our sources, which clearly states that there has been no termination between Turkish Technique and Air India, and also Air India provides security services to Turkish Airlines for them to enter in our country. The Turkish Airlines, which operate 5 days a week in our country, and without security services being given to them by Air India, they can't enter our country because this requires security clearance from BCAS as well. Now we know that their contract is till 31st August 2025, and after Operation Sindoor, it was discussed at large that with Turkish Technique and the security services being provided, both the things should immediately be terminated. But what we have got to know is that Air India has taken no decision till now that there has to be termination of contract or not. The contract is still going on. The Turkish Airlines are still entering in our country, and we know that there is a contract which is still going on. No termination yet.
Okay, and the other information is about the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security giving very stern deadlines to Air India now. We have some emails on that as well. Shravan?
Well, in fact, this email was sent around 10:22 in the evening. This was
yesterday.
This was after the plane crash. In fact, this was addressed to the CEO of Air India, Campbell Wilson, and the time that was given to Air India was by the end of today to provide details of three aspects. One, operation route and the sectors, which basically means complete flight history of the last 30 days. The second, and that's the most important and crucial aspect, because here the focus is on maintenance and technical oversight, where BCAS is now asking Air India to provide the details of all the maintenance agencies, which also involves all third-party agencies. And not just that, each station service. So what we know is that as far as this aircraft is concerned, which went in for service in the month of March and in Bombay, so the Bureau of Civil Aviation is now asking details of the services. And the third aspect is the aircraft track record, which means the flight-wide technical reliability data, which includes flight hours since the last C-check, hard landings, recurrent defects, shelf life alerts. All of this is now been asked by BCAS to Air India. What we do not know is that whether at all Air India has responded to the email that was sent to them around 10:22 yesterday.
Well, I mean, there is one point of concern here right now I must share, and that is that there is a very sustained attempt through PR companies and others to quickly say pilot error. And that is it's a very convenient way to look at things. On the one side, we are given lectures on how you must not blame the airline, you must not blame the government, you must not blame Boeing. But the same people who give us that advice quickly say that from our reading of the plane and two videos, we think the pilot has carried out a fault. And you ask them why not? They say because we don't find any other reason. So the attitude is we can't point to anything specific yet, and hence therefore we blame the pilot. Because that takes away any financial or corporate responsibility.
The dead people don't speak up.
Yes? Yeah, the dead don't speak up, the dead can't defend themselves.
To explain. You see, dead man is gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to bring in on this debate J. Venkateshwar Rao on how he views the responses of Air India over the last 24 hours and earlier. Mr. Rao.
The response, hi Arnab, thank you. The response from Air India is nothing new. They have a PR company, it will do the needful. What they will hide is the flight safety violations that have been taking place in Air India before Tata took over and after Tata took over as well. Now I have a report here from the DGCA in June 2023 where 13 audit reports were fudged by an auditor who's not competent to even sign that document. This is a regular thing that goes on in Air India. And we have brought it to the notice of Air India and the other authorities, but there is no action taken, no corrective action. We all speak when there is an incident or an accident, but after that there is no continuous monitoring of what is happening. Air India is known to be violating flight safety left, right and center with impunity. And they have been given a very long rope. In fact, we have filed cases against Air India, criminal cases for endangering lives. The Bombay High Court passed an order saying that if there is one flight safety violation, the airline, the DGCA and the crew, all three will be held responsible. But tell me who gets to the stick?
I take your view. I have with me now Mirza Faizan, who's a world-renowned aerospace scientist. He has brought in several innovations globally to enhance runway safety. Mirza Faizan, Mr. Faizan, good evening. This is not an attempt at getting any early conclusions on this. We are not trying to preempt anything. Can I have Captain Panesar on the right, please, for a moment? Thank you. Can you hear me, Mr. Faizan?
Yes, I can, loud and clear now.
So, you know, I've saw this pattern that some people are going on air and they say that, see, engines cannot fail. The weather conditions are all right. There is no smoke you can see. and therefore the most likely cause is pilot error. A pilot may have pulled a wrong crank or a wrong shaft, and the pilot got it wrong. The two pilots didn't coordinate. These kind of theories. See, I have no idea, but they're saying these are the kind of things that can happen, leading to a loss of lift and a loss of thrust. Is it as simple as that? And how do you view what information we have so far, Mr. Faizan?
So, Arnab, in any accident, the easiest thing to do is to blame the dead man. So that's not how air crash investigations are done, right? As far as my observation goes with the clip I have seen, and I will actually commend the pilots for the level of airmanship they have shown, right? Within a couple of seconds, they identified that the aircraft is under imminent danger. They issued Mayday, and then they have a couple of seconds to decide to do whatever they have to do. Now, the point about the confusion between flaps and landing gear, right? I mean, it's not so easy, right? Both the levers are on the central console. Flap is on the left-hand side. Landing gear is on the left-hand side. Flaps is on the right-hand side. There has been incidents, not with Boeing 787, that the pilot has confused the flap lever with the landing gear or the undercarriage lever. That is by Boeing, when they were designing 787, they made sure that they are different shape, different color, different location. So if we have to go and pull on the undercarriage or the landing gear lever, we have to extend and go and do it, whereas for the flaps, it is just next to that. So it's not so easy. Plus, these are not newbie pilots. There could be other way to look at it. Landing gear was down. What if the captain might be thinking, so the aircraft has lost total thrust. Let me try to find a place for a hard landing somewhere. Let us leave the landing gear on so that the landing gear takes some of the impact when there's a hard landing. Why are we not thinking like that? Everyone is speculating at this point of time. Why are we not speculating like that? So I do not agree. I totally object to blame a dead man, because that is going to even impact the thought process of investigators, right? So I do not agree to that, Arnab.
So some people are saying, no, the pilot pulled the wrong shaft. The pilot probably got it wrong. It's very easy to do, right? It's very convenient. Very convenient in this, And there are some people who call themselves YouTube sensations, who go around wearing the pilot's uniform and who are going and doing this analysis these days. Is that a responsible thing to do? I think, I don't know. It's very, it's very misleading, isn't it? I mean, it's very unfair on the pilots. You're saying you commend them for their attempt to recover things, right? Mirza? You're saying they were working. Yes. The pilots were working hard to save the situation till the last.
Of course. I mean, imagine the situation of the captain and Captain Sujit is trying to come in, but I will let.
Just give me 5 seconds.
Yeah, Captain Sujit.
Just give me 5 seconds to tell me the procedure on a takeoff worldwide. When a pilot opens power for takeoff, and he compares the speed of the aircraft, both the pilot confirm 120 knots, and then when he gets airborne, on his vertical speed indicator, the moment he sees the aviation climbing, aircraft left the ground, his first word is gear up. The moment they gear up, the pilot, the gear lever and the flap lever are at a different place. He will not put the flap up with a gear up. It is mentally stuck in the mind of a pilot. Once he says gear up, his hand will go onto the gear lever and put it up. And once he put the lever up, It takes few seconds for the gear to go up. It doesn't go up immediately. It's a huge body. No, during this process, I can tell you by experience, the world, 37 years, immediately getting airborne, positive rate of climb, gear up. The pilot, the gear lever is in front of him on the instrument panel. And flap lever is near the throttles. There are two different places. And if the flaps are not in a take-off position, he will get a warning even before opening power for take-off. See, let us understand the psychology of take-off first. This is the way a take-off is done.
Yep.
But I only appreciate the pilot, his experience, that he is at least to say Mayday. Mayday means extreme emergency beyond his control.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to open up to lots of calls tonight. From Bengaluru, I have a caller asking a question. Harish. Harish, good evening.
Yeah, Arnab. Yeah, Arnab, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Yes, Harish.
Yes, perfect. Arnab, I'm a very fan of Republic and fan of you as well.
Thank you, sir.
And also, I'm a good friend of Shekhar Vijayan, who is a political analyst who comes to your channel.
Yes.
As well. And as of now, see, Arnab, we need to have a thorough and transparent investigation into this strategy, into this tragedy, basically. The recovery of the black box is a critical step, but it must be followed by full accountability. Tatas have to be accountable for this. DGCA and Civil Aviation Ministry must lead this probe with urgency and integrity.
I agree with you.
Let's be clear, blaming the pilot at this stage is not a premature.
I'm totally with you, Harish, totally. It's so unfair that some channels are actually allowing it and are encouraging it. Thank you, Harish. Yogesh is our next caller. Yogesh?
Unfortunate.
Okay, Jogesh Bhutani is with us. Jogesh, are you there?
And I want to ask a simple question to DGCA. Why has been no response from DGCA till now, and where is Minister of Civil Aviation? He has not come on any channel, including yours, not to explain the whole incident, and pay the solidarity to the deceased people. That's my question.
Very valid question, Jogesh. Very, very valid question. Jogesh Bhutani is calling there. And I would like that question to go to Dr. Vipul Saxena. DGCA is being very evasive. Civil Aviation Minister hasn't given a detailed response.
See, I won't be able to comment on behalf of DGCA, but what I noticing is, I think for last 2 days, the complete AIB team was there, DGC team was there, and they were trying to locate the DFDR and trying to help out, the rescue operation or recovery operations of various parts and whatever evidence is possible to be collected.
Correct.
And to my information, most of senior officers were there. So I think probably we should expect by tomorrow something should.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Dr. Jeff Dell, we have a lot of callers asking questions here today. There are some other issues which have been brought up. Wrong system programming. Everybody has their own favorite theory. One, something called FADEC system failure. Some people are talking about a structural failure. Why the plane did not take lift, because there's some undetected damage. Now, layman question, Dr. Jeff Dell, when a plane takes off, right, can damage to the aircraft or, get unnoticed on the ground, because the planes don't stay on the ground for that long, especially before long haul. This plane came in from Delhi. So is it possible it was carrying some damage which did not get detected in Ahmedabad before taking off for Gatwick?
I guess, it's possible. It doesn't look terribly likely from the information, particularly the video. It's not obvious, any kind of structural failure had occurred or previous damage that might have led to this, in my opinion. Given the Mayday call information from the captain or one of the pilots, that they had a thrust problem. Obviously the focus will be on the engine management system, of which FADEC's part of. It's worth remembering that these aeroplanes aren't like aircraft of the previous eras. There's no physical connection between the thrust levers in the cockpit and the fuel control units that are controlling the speed of rotation of the engines and thrust. The pilots set the thrust that they want with the thrust levers, and that tells the computer what the pilot wants, and then the computer, with all of the other information that it's needing and monitoring, decides what it's going to do. So effectively, it's possible that the thrust levers were all the way forward during the later part of that flight, but the engines didn't respond because of some other problem in the engine management systems. So, again, I say, we need the information from the recorders to see exactly what the circumstances were.
Okay.
Because it could have been any number of things.
I take that. I take that. Just our next caller is from Bengaluru. Ajit. Ajit, hi. You have a question?
Yeah, hi. Arnab, first of all, big fan of yours.
Thank you.
Really enjoy Republic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
My only point is, government has no business to be in business. Their only responsibility is external aggression, internal law and order, and governance. Large airline that was being managed by the government. Today, everybody is comfortably putting the blame on Tata, which is one of the most respectable and, Tata is somebody which we admire. It's in our heart.
But we should not over-admire it to a point where we stop questioning it.
It was. But who is responsible for the maintenance of so many aircraft that was done by the government over a period of time? And today we are comfortably putting the blame on Tata.
I take your point. So, Ajit, I take your point is more an observation than a question. You're saying the government, the Tatas have inherited problems, chronic problems in Air India. I take your point. Last question, layman question, Mirza, to you. Taking off from what Dr. Jeff Dell said, that these planes are run by computer systems. It's not like physically each part is connected to the other. Could there have been a software or computer glitch, malfunction?
Yeah, I agree to that. These are 787 is completely fly-by-wire systems. What we mean by fly-by-wire is that the pilot does not, manually put the control. Pilot give instruction to the computer, and the computer actuates everything. So yes, that is a possibility, Arnab. There might be a possibility, although these are very redundant systems. For example, someone said FedEx, right? FedEx is doubly, triply redundant, right? But there is a possibility. There is one system called TQM, or throttle quadrant module, right? So this is the system, which when the pilot actually requests the thrust from the engine, so this goes through the throttle quadrant module. Now, for example, in a situation if the TQM fails, there might be a possibility that the instruction to give the full thrust to the pilot by the engine might not reach the engine, and the engine gets down. But I do not see this as a condition here, because keep this in mind, this aircraft has given full thrust, and once the aircraft is airborne, that is where it failed. So I do not see that, even if it was failed, it would have failed in that state machine, that it is giving full thrust, and it would have failed in that situation. It cannot fail to idle. I mean, these are a lot of speculations. They are subject to deep investigation.
Absolutely, Mirza. I thank you. Dr. Jeff, thank you. Captain Panesar, Captain Ehsan Khalid, Vipul, and J. Venkateshwar Rao, I thank you very much. No early speculation. The only thing I don't want people to singularly speculate on, almost as if it is a personal agenda of theirs, is to blame the pilots. As has been said, they are not here to defend themselves. If we are following process and everything, let's follow process in this as well. And the government, Civil Aviation Ministry really, really needs to wake up. I'll see you soon. Good night and goodbye.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला।